Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Black Women Amplified, the podcast. Your host, Monica Wisdom Tyson, brings you downloadable conversations that matter to women around the globe. We discuss all things Black girl magic, amplify our voices, and transform our challenges into triumphs. Monica calls on her league of extraordinary women to push our boundaries, share their expertise, and stories of personal transformation. Welcome your host of Black Women Amplified, Monica Wisdom Tyson.
Hello, Black Women Amplified. This is Monica Wisdom. I am the host and the producer of the Black Women Amplified podcast, and I am so excited that you're here with us today. If you are new to the show, thank you for joining us. I hope that you check out previous episodes and catch up on what's been happening on this show, as well as the amazing interviews. If you've been around for a while, thank you so much for continuing to support. If you've been around from the beginning, you are an OG. And as you know, today is August 22nd, 2024, and that is a significant date for this show. I'm recording this show a week prior to you hearing it, but I just wanted you to remember that date. But before we get into this show, I want to talk to you about making sure that you bookmark www.blackwomenamplified.com. That is our internet home, and that's where you can find our blog, our merchandising shop, where you can buy t-shirts, coffee mugs, journals, hats. More things are coming, all designed with you in mind. And you can get your Black Women Amplified t-shirt, sweatshirt, hoodie, and just connect with the tribe around the globe. And I designed the stuff myself. So as you know, all of this is my creation. Until I can hire a team. How about that? How about let's pray to sweet baby Jesus for a team and the money to pay for it. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. And this is episode 101. And that is a proud moment for me. So I just want to thank everybody who makes this podcast happen and who supports me and who holds me up, who wipes my tears, who's there when I'm not feeling great about all the things. All the things. Life is lifing and life is transitioning, and building a new business, building a new career is a journey, and lots of lessons, lots of love, and lots of miracles happen every single day. And I'm grateful for all of it. And I'm most definitely grateful for each of you who takes the time to tune in and listen to the Black Women Amplified podcast. As I said, it is August 22nd, 2024. Why is that significant? For me personally, I've released my 100th episode, as I've said. For the nation and the world, today is the 4th day of the DNC convention, and Kamala Harris, our Vice President, will be accepting her nomination for President of the United States. That's a big deal. And she has the momentum to make it happen. I've been watching every single night. I'm hyped up for me being the nerd that I am and a person who loves talking about politics. This is my Super Bowl. So I have my snacks. I've made my drinks, and I sit in front of the computer and I watch it. I watch it on the computer because when you watch it on television, you don't get to see all the people and all the things that are happening. So you miss a lot. And I don't want to hear the commentary of the media. That's a whole nother conversation. Not interested. But today, Kamala Harris. And if you're listening around the world, know that as a Black woman, this is a powerful moment for me. It's just been moments of joy. And let me explain why. And if you've been listening to podcasts, and if you're a Black woman, you know exactly what I'm about to say. But for people who are not, our podcast is almost 20% men, and not everybody who listens to the podcast is a Black woman. It's significant because Kamala Harris is a Black, Caribbean, South Asian woman from Oakland, California, and the child of immigrants. She, within her very being, she tells so many stories. Jamaica was a part of the slave trade, so we connect on that level. South Asian. She connects to a huge population around the world. Her parents were immigrants. Her mother's a PhD. Her father was a PhD, the first Black man to be tenured at Stanford University. Her mother was a PhD and she was a cancer researcher. But they were a middle-class family who lived in an apartment and who worked their way to the places that they needed to be in life. And Kamala was raised by a single mother. She went to a HBCU and she went to a state college to get her law degree. And she stepped her way up into the role of vice president. And now she's running for president of the United States. So she comes from a different group of people. She comes from the people that I come from. She doesn't come from the wealthy or the Ivy Leaguers. And although her father was an Ivy League professor, she went to an HBCU. She went to Howard University. And she steeped herself deep into Black culture. And when you hear all of this vitriol about she ain't Black, she ain't this, she ain't that, she is. I study history. I don't study it deep, but I know that Jamaica was a part of the slave trade. I know Jamaica was a part of the Triangle. I know that more Africans went to South America and the Caribbean than they came to North America. I do know that. And I do know that Jamaicans are a very strong, proud people. And culturally, we're very similar. We all come from the continent. Not all of us, but many of us came from the continent. There are indigenous Black people here. And I will say this. I know my family has been here for many, many, many generations, more than most people in this country. We go back, I can count 10 generations. So I know that I was born here. My family was born here. My family's family was born here. So for the most part, my family is indigenous outside of the slave trade. And I don't know what that part of the story is because we just don't know. And y'all know why. So Kamala's story, just as her beingness, tells many different stories. And that is the story of America, where two people can come from two different parts of the world, meet, connect, have a family, and within one generation, I mean, Kamala is only 61 years old. Within one generation has the possibility of being the United States of America. And neither of her parents were born here. Now, don't get into this or that because neither was that previous Agent Orange. His parents were not born here. His father was, but his mother was not. So he also has an immigrant story that he does not talk about. His family started in the early 1900s when his grandfather came to the United States of America. So he hasn't been here that long either, or his family is not rooted here. So one cancels out the other, if that's your argument against her. But I say all that to say it's significant to me as a Black woman because not just because she's intelligent, brilliant, fierce. I fell in love with Kamala Harris when she was in the Senate. And her and Elizabeth Warren, I always love watching in the Senate because the way they break people down, there's something about that lawyer's brain. And they walk people into that answer that they want. And I just find it fascinating. That might be why I dated an attorney for a long time, because their brains are fascinating to me. But I fell in love with her then. And then when she ran for president, I did my research because there were like 17 people running and I didn't really know any of them, but I really researched her and Cory Booker. My choice was Cory Booker because I just love Cory Booker. So I was pushing for him. And then when it came down to, I was like, okay, well, he's out of the race. I'll go with Kamala. I had already done my research. I was like, okay, I'm great with her. Plus, I loved watching her in the Senate. And then she leaves the race and eventually Joe Biden becomes the candidate and she is chosen as the vice president. Now, why else is this significant? Because there was a group of Black women. If you know the history of the group, Win with Black Women, WIN, there was a letter written to Joe Biden to say, hey, sir, hey, this is what's going to happen. You're going to choose a Black woman. And there are many Black women qualified for this job. And we're going to do something different. And we suggest you listen because Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. We elected Joe Biden into office at a significant rate over everybody else, especially white women. I think 53% of them voted for that other person. So this moment that we're having today was because we pushed it to happen. It's not just he picked Kamala. It was not a random pick. It was, this is what you're going to do, or this is what we're going to do. We had had enough. You know how people always say, Black people never have a plan. Well, Black women have been out here strategizing, like deeply, deeply strategizing how this is going to work, because we have to create a world that works for us. Other communities do it. Asian communities do it. Middle Eastern communities do it. African communities do it. They figure out a way for this system to work for them. And so finally, we are strategizing to make this system work for us. And not finally in the sense of the civil rights movement and other movements have not happened, and they have to get us to this point. But how do we walk into the future? And how do we have somebody that represents us in the future? And it's incredibly, and I'm going to get past this point, but it really pisses me off when I hear people say, well, just because she's Black, I'm not going to vote for her. White folks vote for white folks all the time and nobody says anything. You voted for him just because he's white. Nobody says that. Or nobody says, well, you voted for him just because he's a man. But anytime it's a woman of color, a Black woman, there's always some disclaimer. Because we in our heads have that we are not significant, that Black women are not significant, that women of color are not significant. And we are. And anytime you pull back the cover of anything, there's always one of us there. Always one of us there. Nor orchestrating, strategizing, and making sure everybody is okay. So when I see Vice President Harris out here this is how hard she works. On the second night of the convention, when the Obama spoke, she was not even there. She was in a whole nother state doing a rally for thousands of other people because she had already promised to be there. And when I saw her, it was the roll call night. She's watching the roll call and she's in a whole nother state. There's a whole convention happening for this moment today. But she, in true Black woman form, is like, I'm not going to cancel. I'm going to keep my word to these people. And she did. So now she flies back to Chicago so she can accept and enjoy this convention. I was like, she's in a whole nother state? Are you serious? Let me tell you something. You want to get it done, hire a Black woman, especially a Gen X Black woman. Hire one of us and it will be done to perfection. And she's sitting there. There's a picture of her sitting in a seat on her bus, watching her husband give his speech. And that was the sweetest thing because she wanted to see. And also today is her 10-year anniversary with her husband, Doug. So it's a powerful day for everybody. And also, this is a 60th anniversary of the day that Fannie Lou Hamer gave her impactful testimony to the Democratic National Convention. She is an iconic civil rights leader. We don't talk about her enough. And she was working to desegregate the Democratic Party in Mississippi. And she's famous for the sayings, nobody is free until everybody is free. And the other one is, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I didn't learn about Fannie Lou Hamer until probably about 10 years ago, because unfortunately she's not taught in our schools. And I'll tell you how I learned about her in a little bit, but she gave this speech in front of the National Committee, Democratic Committee, 60 years ago today, August 22nd. And she was telling them about the violence that she received while trying to vote, the beat down that the authorities did on her, the terrorism that the community was doing on her simply because she was trying to vote and trying to sign other people up to vote. She co-founded the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. and she started Freedom Summer. And she was the co-founder of the National Women's Political Caucus. She also recorded music. She recorded hymns. And here's the thing that's so significant about this day for Kamala Harris. Just even the idea that she has the possibility to be the president of the United States is huge for all people. Because 60 years ago, we had to take a literacy test to vote. There was a poll tax. They had ridiculous rules and things that people had to do, counting pennies in a jar, guessing how many pennies were in a jar. There were so many things that they did to suppress the vote. And it's really sad that this stuff is really continuing on today. So every other day I put on the Black Women Amplified Facebook page. Today is a great day to check your voter registration because they are purging people's names. They are purging, and people who voted in the last election, they're just getting rid of everybody. There's all of a sudden these computer, what do you call it when somebody breaks into your electronical system? I can't get the words together. Gen X brain is working. Hello, everyone. Monica Wisdom here. I am the host and the producer of the Black Women Amplified podcast. But what you might not know is that I'm also a consultant for women entrepreneurs. I help women entrepreneurs develop their ideas, their brand, and their overall business strategy. Are you developing a groundbreaking idea or have a wealth of knowledge that could impact the world but unsure where to go next? Business is good, but you're ready for it to be great. With countless ideas racing through your mind, it's challenging to figure out what's next. I understand. You have excelled with top companies, but entrepreneurship feels like a new language. The truth is, you can do this. You've achieved great success for others, and now it's time to achieve it for yourself. At Monica Wisdom Consulting, we focus on your vision and crafting a clear, concise, strategic plan. Your dreams are within reach. You simply need a powerful roadmap to get you there. Are you ready to take the next step? Book a call and let's discuss your vision and future. You can reach me at www.monicawisdomhq.com. Back to Fannie Lou Hamer. On this very day, she sat in front of the Democratic National Convention to tell her story of how the state terrorized her so that she and other people could not vote. But she continued on in her activism, getting people registered to vote and getting people to the polls. And that was her mission. And she kept going and kept going and kept going. And that day opened up the possibilities for today. And the reason I learned about her is because during the Ferguson movement, you all know I've talked about it before. There's a podcast episode about it, but I was there from day one. And I worked within that movement for at least 15 months that I can remember. And I was involved in many aspects. But one of the things I was involved in is I met a woman named Hazel Irby. And I was asked to meet with her. It was a group of us. It was a whole team of people. But she wanted to start the Fannie Lou Hamer Coalition. And what the Fannie Lou Hamer Coalition was the Black politicians were upset because the white politicians were never siding with them. So they couldn't get anything done. So Fannie Lou Hamer, Hazel wanted to start her own organization. And I was blessed enough and honored to work with her in building that vision. And the things that we did were very significant. One of the projects that I worked on was there was an election coming up for county executive. And the county executive, there was a Democrat and a Republican. Nobody liked the Democratic candidate. So the politicians wanted to put their weight behind the Republican candidate. So they met with him. They did all the things. Of course, at the end of the day, the Republicans disappointed everybody. But the choice was not wrong because the person who won ended up in jail for bribery and fraud. So it was a good choice. And it was a point of, what do they say now? Country over party. And that was one of those moments where this group of politicians put the county, their city that they lived in, over their party affiliation. And so it's very significant. And so that is when I started learning about Fannie Lou Hamer and all that she had done. And I was just in amazement. One of those sad, happy moments where it was like, how come I never heard about her before or I've seen the testimony, but I didn't know the depth of what she did. I just thought she was somebody who was hurt trying to vote. I had no idea that she was running for office. I had no idea that she had started all of these organizations and co-founded these organizations, and that her mission was to desegregate the Democratic Party. Because, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have switched up. So many Black folks were Republican. And as we know, many Black people are very conservative. That's just what it is. I'm going to leave that where it is. Now, what we see now for the people listening around the world, when I say conservative, I don't mean what they say now. It was just conservative traditional values, religious, but not to the extreme that it is now. What it is now, I don't know what it is now. I don't even call it a Republican Party anymore. It's them people over there. Because I don't have a problem with somebody being a Republican. Stand on your business. I don't have anybody being an independent. Stand on your business. But let me say this really quickly about this third party stuff. So during this election cycle, when I was working with with Hazel Irby, I should say, specifically, everything was going great. We had the votes and everything was going in favor of what the politicians wanted to happen. But here's what had happened. Somebody from the community decided to enter the game at the last minute. And because he was a part of the community, the Black community, and the two people running for office were white men, he pulled votes away from the person that the Fannie Lou Hamer coalition was supporting. And so then he lost. The person the politicians were supporting lost because this person entered the game who didn't need to be anybody's politician either. But here's the thing, and I listen to people talk about third party now. It's okay to vote third party. Do what your heart desires. But it's not okay to do it just to be, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. If there's a mission that we all are on, just get with the mission and you can fight later. Just get with the mission. I'm my own person. I have my own thoughts. Are you? Do you? That Kennedy dude is trying to find somebody to put him in a cabinet position. And he will sell his voters to the highest bidder. So is that somebody you want to be behind? Is that it? I don't think that's it either. So when I hear third party, it's great. And I remember there was a third party organization. I can't remember who it was, but it was several people from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, and they came together and they were creating their own party. And it never got off the ground, so it just dissipated and fizzed out. But putting together a political party, if you want to do a third party in 2028, start now. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do 3032, start now. Don't do it 10 months before an election and say, no, I'm going to do third party. It's not logical. It just doesn't make any sense. It takes years to build up a party. It takes years to get a true coalition that sticks for a long period of time, that really has a platform that people will be attracted to. Even in the independent party, Bernie Sanders is an independent. He ran as a Democrat. Bernie pulled votes away from Hillary. And his vitriol against Hillary also pulled votes away. We can talk about the email thing, but that's not the whole story. Bernie was a big part of people not voting for Hillary because he was just as rough on her as the Republican Party was. I said what I said. But anyway, so getting back to the story of the significance of this day, August 22nd, 2024. It's like all of the stars have aligned. I'm sure it was calculated. I'm sure it was strategized because I'm telling you, Kamala's game plan, I should call her vice president. The vice president's game plan is immaculate. Like, I really believe I'm in an episode of Scandal. I really do. I really, really, really do. And hopefully one day in the future, she will be on the podcast. I'm putting that out in the universe. So if anybody who hears this, who knows her, tell her I want her on the Black Women Amplified podcast because I got questions. And I want her to be my friend. She and Michelle Obama, I want them to be like my girls, me and my girls and them and their girls, all hanging out, cackling, laughing, because I cackle, laugh too. But I say all that to say the significance of this moment. I hope that you recognize that it is not just a fun party that we're having. It is history in the making. And I hope that you take a moment to write down your feelings about your experience as this is happening as a Black woman. Because it is important, as we've heard on these convention streets, everybody's sharing their story. And write it down for your grandchildren to know what was happening in your world and your life and in this moment for you as a Black woman watching another Black woman of color, be nominated for President of the United States. What were you doing on August 22nd, 2024? And write that story and let it begin the time when you continue to write more of your stories, because your story, like Kamala's story, Fannie Lou Hamer's story, Hazel Irby's story, is also significant. We might not see you, but like all the women that have been on this podcast, your story matters, it's important, and it deserves to be heard. So I say all that to say, enjoy this celebration, enjoy this moment, and know that if you choose to vote for Kamala Harris, I said Kamala on purpose. People mispronounce her name. It's now become a slur. But Kamala Harris is somebody I believe will be a champion for us in the White House. And the alternative cannot get back into the White House. But I tell people, my personal vote is I'm voting for Kamala Harris. Voting against the wave of racism and vitriol and all the other mess that comes with that is secondary to me. I made a clear choice that this is who I'm voting for after I did my research and after I went through all the things, all of the rumors or the propaganda that people put out. I said, well, let me go see for myself. I don't learn my education off of TikTok. I might get information off of TikTok, but then I get on my computer and I do the research. And I invite all of you to do the same thing because it's important that you know who you're voting for and why. Who and why are just as important as your vote, because I want you to be clear on why this is significant and why this is important. And I want you to be clear about what your vision is for your family, because at the end of the day, we're not voting for a person. We're voting for our own lives, the lives of our children, the lives of our family, the lives of our peers, and our future life. That's the vote that we're making this time. It's not a popularity contest. It's a contest about how do you want to live your life. And your life is significant and you deserve to be able to walk the walk you want to walk, to love the people you want to love, to dream the dreams you want to dream. And so when you're thinking about who am I voting for, I'm good about get silent, get clear, and listen to your heart, listen to your intuition, and block out the noise and the propaganda and the vitriol, turn off the news, and really do your research and from qualified people. And if you are interested, go to winwithblackwomen.com, join up to their email list, and they put out information all the time. The women that are in that organization, okay, let me tell you this. I'm on their call every Sunday and I learn something new all the time. Like I didn't know that during the previous administration before Biden, that 400,000 Black businesses shut down. We don't hear that number. And that's just Black businesses. So many businesses shut down because that pandemic was mismanaged. And it's unfortunate and it's sad and all the things. And it's heartbreaking and it angers me still. But that's what happens when you learn facts. You lay out the facts of the case and you determine your why, what's important to you, your values. And then once you align up with that, then you'll have a clear decision when you make your vote on November 5th. So I didn't mean for this to become a political thing, but I just am really, really passionate about voting. And not just because people died for it, but people died for it. But when we all come together and make our voices heard, share our stories, and hear the stories of others, we realize, like they continue to say, that we are more alike than we are different. I tell people all the time, I'm a global citizen. I just live where I live. But the world is my world, and I'm a part of a global majority. My people stretch all across many continents. My lineage stretches across many continents, as do yours. So we have to open our minds to open to new possibilities of understanding of not just the world, but understanding who we are. And in understanding who we are and connecting it to the world, everything gets bigger, grander, and brighter. So I will close out with saying, thank you all for listening to episode 101. And I will be back to you with more conversations. That's just me and you having conversations about Black girl stuff, Black girl magic, and world. What is my favorite thing? Pinky in the brain. What are we doing today, brain? We're taking over the world. So I can't wait to walk through these next 70 days with you all until the election and having real conversations of how things impact us as Black women. And I will be having some books to read, and I have some interviews to pitch. So those will be coming up as well. But I just want you to know that it's our time. It's your time. It's my time. It's time. Have an amazing day. Don't forget to visit blackwomenamplified.com. Please share this with your friends. Please share it on your social media and let the world know that the Black Women Amplified galaxy is alive and well. Have an amazing day. I'm sending you light and love, and I will chat with you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Black Women Amplified. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe and log on to blackwomenamplified.com for more information. Keep shining.